Jim Stacy, or known by some as JD Stacy, will go down as one of the sketchiest owners in NASCAR history. We've talked about the worst NASCAR owner on this channel before, but JD Stacy is certainly up there. You can definitely make an argument for him being the worst.
He is absolutely one of these, I don't know, shadowy figures throughout NASCAR history. So where do you go, man?
That's a fair statement. A shadowy figure came out of nowhere in the late 70s. Now, Stacy's wealth, supposedly, was built upon a coal mining machine he created. He came in 1977 with a team with Neil Bonnet driving for him, and Neil was still more or less trying to find his way.
With Neil Bonnet behind the wheel, the team ended up winning 2 races at Richmond and Ontario. He also ended the season with 5 top 5s and 9 top 10s. What makes that stat line even more impressive is they didn't even run all the races, just 12, and they also won 3 poles, but ended up with 7 DNFs, mostly due to mechanical failures. Whenever they finished the race, the worst result was an 8th place finish, meaning the other 4 starts were either a top 5 or a win. I think it's safe to say Neil Bonnet carried this team. Either way, JD Stacy had a terrific first year as a NASCAR owner. Certainly they can carry all of this momentum in 1978, right? Actually, it was just the beginning of Stacy's shenanigans. The trend of him not paying his driver and team began in 1978.
Earlier in the year, the team with Harry Hyde and Neil Bonnet had broken up, and that was a big story for quite some time.
After 16 races, Neil Bonnet and Harry Hyde parted ways. A team with a lot of potential was destroyed in less than a season. After the late summer Michigan race, the team was finished for the year. Fast forward to the fall of 1978, and Stacy is conjuring up plans for the 79 season. He was already growing a shady reputation, and it would end up elevating to shadowy dark figure status when it was discovered a hit was put out on him. That's right, someone was trying to assassinate a NASCAR owner. 2 cops just happened to be eating breakfast at the Holiday Inn. When passing by the silver gray Cadillac, they were looking just to admire it, but then noticed the loose wiring underneath the car.
And what they found is wires were attached to dynamite.
10 sticks
underneath
of dynamite
underneath the driver's seat. And to make a long story short, that was rigged up so that the minute that Stacy went into reverse, the car would explode, and that'd be the end of Stacy. Now, this was not the first time Stacy had his life, shall we say, threatened. The Cadillac had
bulletproof glass.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Bulletproof.
So you knew
glass.
something was up.
Oh man.
Because of the way the car was parked, it was sitting in plain view, so whoever planted the bomb did a pretty terrible job. The way it was set up was that when the car moved, the wires would come together and the bomb would go off. Authorities found no note with the bomb, which was later dismantled by the bomb squad. They took it out to a field near the inn where they detonated it with the caps of the dynamite, so at least it didn't go to waste. When asked how he felt about the whole ordeal, Stacy said, "I feel fine because it didn't work." He also said he wasn't afraid to continue driving his car. Now, why was he staying at a Holiday Inn? Well, he was to appear in court for a lawsuit concerning a loan. Up to that point, he had been involved in multiple lawsuits, 2 of which included a former driver and team member. One of those was Harry Hyde, and when police began investigating who planted the bomb, he was viewed as a potential suspect.
Harry had said some uncomplimentary things to Stacy. They all figured he was the one that rigged up the car, but the State Bureau of Investigation came by, looked all over Harry's property, found some dynamite, but it was used to clear land rather than anything to do with a bomb, and it wasn't the same type, so no charges or anything were ever brought against Harry, so he was pretty much out of the picture.
There was also Farrell Harris, one of Stacy's former drivers and business partners.
Farrell Harris.
That's
right.
Yeah.
He came to be the driver for Stacy. Farrell Harris was part of the Kentucky coal mining scene at that time, so they got together, but things went south in a big hurry.
Well, evidently, JD Stacy was the owner, but at some point had to borrow, from what Scene said, like $80,000 from Harris.
Our promissory note,
Yeah.
$90,000.
Okay, yeah,
And
wow.
he's supposedly the owner. Now, what the world Farrell was thinking to give him that money, I don't know. But obviously he did not repay it, and Farrell brought a suit against him.
After investigating him, he checked out, and to this day, no arrests have ever been made in the case. It's important that you don't forget about the bulletproof glass, because I feel like that's proof that this assassination attempt could have came from anywhere. The guy seemed to have a lot of enemies in a ton of places. After this assassination attempt, what ended up happening to Stacy's NASCAR team? In July of 1981, he purchased Rod Osterland's number 2 team, which fielded the defending Cup Series champion Dale Earnhardt.
You hear Austin selling a team, this JD Stacy guy? Huh? This cowboy made his money in coal mining machinery, whatever. I'll tell you what, this guy don't know the first thing about racing.
Dale Earnhardt was not feeling him at all, and less than a month later, he was gone. Deciding to take a chance on a startup team in Richard Childress Racing, bringing over his Wrangler sponsorship, and as they say, the rest is history. Joe Ruttman ran the rest of the races, and in 1982, not only did he sponsor 7 different race cars, but also signed a young Tim Richmond. That season, they swept both Riverside races, giving Stacy the final 2 wins as a Cup Series owner. And finally in 1983, they had Morgan Shepherd and a young Mark Martin racing for them. But what's the one thing all of those drivers I just mentioned have in common? They all had trouble getting paid. After the 83 season, Stacy was completely through with racing.
There's no mention of JD Stacy, Jim Stacy, or whoever
Right.
in the 35 years since. So where did he go?
Don't know. I don't know. I really do not. Some of it figured he was back to the coal mining country. Some of us figured that he just went south. In other words, we've talked this whole show about J.D. Stacy's financial and legal problems. Maybe he went into hiding. But he was never heard from again.
What do you think Jim Stacy's legacy is going to be? What can people learn from his story today?
That you have to be honest. You have to pay your bills. You can't mislead people. And you can't do the wrong thing and claim to be right. That's what I think they have to learn from J.D. Stacy.
Life doesn't get easier with a ton of friends, but it can sure get a hell of a lot harder with a ton of enemies. Despite being on some people's shit list, he ended up living a long life, passing away peacefully on October 12, 2016 at the age of 86. His career as a car owner spanned 7 years with 125 races, 4 wins, and 53 top 10s, but all of those stats pale in comparison to his infamous reputation, which is what he'll be most remembered for by NASCAR fans. There have been lots of shady owners over the years, but JD Stacy could hold claim as the only NASCAR owner to almost get assassinated. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Black Flags Matter. Catch you next time.